Okay. Then page Mem Dalet, in the middle of the page. It was discussing the union of Machshava is like this is a Machshava. Actually, the middle of Chotze Eagle. Outside of Chotze Eagle, they spoke about the difference between Machshava. Now, inside the Chotze Eagle, it talks the way it is Lamaila. That Lamaila, it says there's a Madrega of Utziva V'Nivo V'Derech Lamaila. The way the Elam is Elyonim, Elam Abriya, which is called Almid Stilmin Delays Galia, that's created out of from Machshava Shalamayla. What is Machshava? That it's not Metzias B'fnei Atzma. You want a marshal from Chaysim Achokal Even Toiv. In the middle of the page, Shom Aschos Einem Nikorim, page Mem Dalet. Aval Beitzira, that's the way it's Elam Abriya. Aval Beitzira, Elam Beitzira, when it's Galus Hayesh. Elam Beitzira is already that stage of being when the Yesh is in a state of is Galus. Nika Alma is Galia, it means it's revealed, it's separated, it's felt as in its own being. Why is that? Because the Gilead, we started saying, and the mashlet was that in Dibur, the Gilead Seichel and Eramidas is not as strong, but in Machshava it's much stronger. Now I talked about Shalamayla also, that in the Elam Abriya, that's the Gilead of Machshava Shalamayla, there's Gilead. This is why there's not separate being. Like about the marshal from the Chaysim Shebe'even Toiv, that the letters in a very shiny, precious stone are not seen. You can not see them. They're overpowered. Same thing, that's the way it is in Machshava, in Elam Abriya, because this galus of the keys is less. There's no Gilead. That's why it can feel the Metzias of the Elam. And that's Merumas and what we say every day in davening. How come they get to use Yitzir, right? And Chesher is Bria. Which from that Bria, if you know Bria is above Yitzir, that means that Chesher is higher than Oil. What does it mean? That's Chesher the Bria. Why is Bria called Chesher? That the Gilead the Bria. Like the famous marshal, that when the sun shines straight in the eye, the person can get blind. When the light is too strong, it blinds you. So b'meile, the same thing here, because there's such a Gilead oil in the Elam Abriya, so it's Chayshach. Basically, it means that the Mekablim don't feel the oil. B'meile, they don't feel the oil. No, they don't feel the oil. B'meile, their own being. No, I'm sorry, I said they don't feel the oil. That's the wrong word. Because of the Bechinas HaChayshach, the Bria, it's a Gilead the Bria. Because it's Gilead, it's a Chayshach means they are not revealed. They're not a Metzias. Ain't a Metzias with Nat. Or Yitzir Bechinas Gilead. Yitzir Bechinas Gilead. Why is Yitzir Yetzer? Bechinas Helam. It's like it's the opposite. Nivoim the Yitzir is Bechinas Pil. So Nivoim the Yitzir, because they're separate beings. Gilead means that they are their own entity, they're not bottle. Mele Hagam. I'm sorry. In the world of Yitzir, it can be a concept of Chetva Oven, which means sin. What does sin mean? Sin means that you do something that contradict Ratzon Hashem. That's pure. You separate yourself from godliness. The Gemara says that the Malach Matatan was let go. What does it mean? Because Keilu the Matat, which is a Malach and Elam Yitzira, did something which wasn't right. He was able to do something that's not Ratzon Hashem, which means because he's separated. in Yitzir Guf and Matatis Pnimi is the Yitzir. It's a higher Madrig in Yitzir. And even though it's a Pnimi, it's still because it's Yitzir, which means it's a state of being. Elikus is what he said, Elam Ha'or, B'meile, you can be Chet. V'hainu, another that also relates to what the language we speak in this Maimer, which is Avos M'chinas Dibu. Sheina M'chinas Yichad L'kach. It's the creation of the deployment. Abriya creation is not a telephone. So because the creation is from Elam Ha from Dibu, Shein Chesichet Kolkach. Because the creation in Elam Yitzir is in Elam Dibu Shein Chesichet Kolkach. The canal shall Dibu in a Mochnis Chesichet Lamid. So it brings what he said in the marshal earlier. The difference in Seichel and Midas, that a person can say things he doesn't understand, he doesn't feel, he just says both. Machshava is automatically the way a person thinks and feels. That's what he thinks. The way the person understands, perceives reality, and the way he feels, that automatically expresses itself in Machshava. So that's a sign that it's connected. The Mele it affects in the Machshava what it creates such nivoim that they're unsteaming, they're bought. So this concept of v'nivo b'derech Mele is actually the marshal of that, and that is Machshava. That's Machshava is b'derech Mele v'nivo b'derech. And then there's another aspect. Another aspect where we see that Yitzira is Yitzira because it's created from Elam Dibu. We see that it's nifled. What is that? What the aspect? Noida gam can be tzirat cholas prince eitzadas teivara. Says in Kabbalah, the Elam Yitzir, eitzadas starts in Elam Yitzir. Whatever that means. It means again. It's another way of making this point that Yitzir there's already teivara. There's also evil. Beitz Chaim. The Beitzira is Tarivs. Tarivs Tevara. The Father says in Kabbalah, we all know that Bria Miutera and Beitzira, Chetzi, V'chetzira. It doesn't mean this part. It's another expression. It's Tarivs. Mikol Makoim, okay, now it takes one step back. Mikol Makoim, Gama Bria B'chal Mishal Miporet. You just learned in the pasuk in Bereshis, Mishami, you know, Yotzei Me'edem, the last Sagon Mishami Pored. So Mishami Pored means that the Elam is separated from the areas of Atzilus. So the concept of the Nifrad applies to Bria also. So just skip the parenthesis for a second. Just like you said earlier about Machshava. Machshava is also Levush. So the Mabaya also, in a certain degree, can be called Nifrad. Okay, now the Chagam, the Chatzigul, he brings in some the Chagam to clarify the terminology. Masha Kosa Bedush Lobin in what?
The Bria is like Machshava?
Yeah. That's what you say all along. That's what you start saying. Bria Yitzira Asiyah like Machshava Dibur L'Mais. So Bria is created from the Machshava Shalom Ayla Machshava, which is Tomid, Ein Nitzak, B'derech Memela. So that's why the Beschäftigten in the Bäume of Adam Abriya are element steaming. They're united the Eberster. There was not with this between Atzmei, and Adam Abriya everybody's bottle. Second, Adam Aitzir is like Dibu. Because Adam Aitzir is like Dibu. In page Mem Daled, the bottom quarter of the page. So okay, so this is Bria and Itzir and Asir are Machshava Dibu Ma'is. That's the standard way of the Hasidic talk. But now in this Chatzi Eagle is going to bring us a new pshat. Masha Gaza Bedrush Lovin and Asir the Dafka Metiba Lemi Machshava. In another place of Siddur, Bechlal say that the nifod, the period starts in Olam Ha, it's here, but it says in Machshava also. Amasha Kosa B'Dush Lovin and Nasir Dafka Mediba Loy Machshava. There's a Maimer Lovin and Nasir, which explains Nasir is the concept. The Eibishter took out the tzela from Adam. That's the way it is in Adam Arishon. In Kabbalah says it's also the kind of series like cutting off. In Madrigas Lamaila, Zo Malchus. It's time that's the name of the douche. So what does it say there? The dark diva loy machshava. The inning of period is dark and diva is not a machshava. How does that fit what we just said a line before? Mishami Por, that Bri is also period. Yeshloima, the Shama Kavala, the Machshava Atzilus, because of them, it's Chaim Sham Zan Peregin. So again, it's a totally new way of understanding Machshava. Like, that's why I think I mentioned the first time we learned it also. That the standard way of applying the three levels, Machshava, Dibur, Maisa, so the Elam is Uchnim, so Bria is Machshava, Yitzir is Dibur, and Atzir is Maisa. But sometimes the word Machshava relates to something way higher than Bria. He says in that Maimer, Machshava means Atzilus. It's another way of relating to Machshava. Like I mentioned then, that Chassidus says in Tanya, Neshama is a all over Machshava. It's not Elam Bria. By the way, sometimes Chassidus also learns that Medrash also Bria, but the Chlal, the Bechila all of Machshava and Machshavta Shalisal Kol Machol Dover, all this way higher than Elam Bria. Sometimes Machshava is not is a marshal and Madrigas, which is way higher than Elam Bria. That's it. And that mind, Lovin and Sira, it says that period starts from Dibur, not a Machshava. Yeshlema the Sham over there in that mind, he tries to understand that Machshava is higher. That Machshava is Atzil. Okay, that's the Hag. All right. So in this Chatzi Eagle that we just finished, in this parentheses, before the parentheses, he spoke the way it is in the human experience. That there's Dibur and Machshava. Machshava is the Levush Pnimi, and Dibur is Levush Chitzayim. He gave all arichas, all kind of the Gemars. Now, that was in this parenthesis, he used the same concept the way it is in the concept Machshava Dibur. We speak in the Elam B'Salyonim. That's how he started. Making a Lamayla. Elam B'Salyonim. There's a Machshava and Dibur, Bria and Yitzir, Alm in this Galion and Alm in the Lois Galion. So we finished this parenthesis. Now we're going back to the original discussion. V'ine alavushim the Machshava Dibur. But Levush Machshava Dibur are connected to Nefesh. The Gam Levush Dibur. Shein Levush Amiyuchat Kuman Machshava, even the Levush Dibur, which is not like united and connected to the Nefesh. The Machshava Yeshlam Kalmakam Gamping Savas the Nefesh still is connected to the Nefesh. Shem is Slavish, but Ela Sechel Amidas. Shem is Galim Al Dibur Azulas. So we see that even Dibur. Stuck a nifdol, nifod, but it's not nifdol. Nifod, it's like separated, but it expresses the inner being of the person, the nefesh. ואדרבה, not only that, לפעמים יכול להיות סגל פנימי הדיבור יש למחשבה. Sometimes speech expresses a deeper feeling and seichel than the מחשבה. כמו דבורים נעיץ מן הלב שבדיבור דווקא דבורים נעיץ מן הלב, there's a concept called דבורים נעיץ מן הלב, נכנסים מן הלב, it's the expression in a ספר היושר המיוחס לרבינו תם. The book Sefer Yosher that is printed in the name of Rabbeinu Tam. Today we know that it's not it's one of the Rishonim, wrote a Sefer full of in Musa. So it says of the Dvarim Eitzim Nalev, that's something we see in our own experience. When a person speaks and comes from a very deep place in his heart, that affects the Makabah. So what is he saying here? He uses that pizgum that it says, so actually it takes that pizgum. Menachem, put on mute please. So because they're because in other takes this pizgum which shows that sometimes sometimes person speaks comes from a deeper place in the person himself. It's because of his pilus, of his labos, that so that shows us. I mean, I don't know how that shows us exactly. It shows that Pnimi Sadiv yes in Machshava. Okay, we could see it in real life, but I don't know. I don't know how to find it in this pizgum exactly. That the point is that the person thinks. Let's say a person is excited about something, thinks about something, but when he expresses in words and he yells, maybe yells is the wrong word. He screams from the bottom of his heart to someone else and it affects him. It comes from a deeper place even than in the machshava. Or kamoi, and there's an pasuk in Tanakh, I don't know where in Tanakh, remember maybe? Nafshe yotza bedaboy. His entire soul was expressed through his speech. So we see here that the dibur can even touch deeper than the machshava. That's in the emotion. Gam יכול להיות יצטרך את השכל והעמיד את כשבאים בדיבור דווקא. One point is that it's galus pnimius, and then it's going to be ytzrach with the sechel. To speaking, the midah can become more powerful, more strong. Somebody is in a state of love and he speaks, he expresses it in words that makes him heart. It makes his feeling stronger. So we see the dibur is connected so strong to the midas that
David also we learn that the dibur it's come from Yechida Shebenefesh. It was in a couple of my morning before.
Yeah, he'll bring it soon. He'll talk about it in a few minutes. Yeah, you're right. He'll take in the next page. He'll talk about that. Sure. But the point here is not. The point is to show. You're right. But the point is to show that dibur has an effect. The actual speech is so strongly connected to the seichel midah that it can be even. It makes the midah stronger. So it's not a separate. So that shows how connected it is because he wants to show. So this idea that the dibur makes the feeling stronger shows how connected it is to the next. That is a eight. It says in Sifrei Musa, another place that says clearly.
Is it more connected?
What?
But dibur is not more connected to machshava, and here comes out the dibur is more powerful.
It is modern. That's all he's saying. 1 second. That's what he's saying here. So we said something, things that Dibur is separate. He can say things they don't even feel, he don't even think. It says on the other hand, Dibur is still a Vusham, it's not miyuchad as much as machshava, but it's still miyuchad. Well, can affect the midah. It's miyuchad, not as much as machshava, but sometimes it has a mile of a machshava. The reason for the mile that you'll see. We'll see later, like in page Memhay. Soon we'll see what the reason is why. What we see here is that it's connected so strong that it doesn't have an effect on it. Says if you get very angry, what is one of the eitzes to quiet down your anger? So what is the eitzah? You should stop talking. Because he will continue talking. You're angry at someone. You'll start expressing your anger in speech. They will get even angrier. If you stop talking about it, that will quiet you down. That's what it says there about kas. Now, Maimon also, not in other places, says the same point that speech instigates you feeling stronger. So the best way, if you get overly emotional and you want to stop it, especially when it's such an emotion like kas, which is a bad emotion. Kas is a negative emotion that we want to overcome. So one of the eitzes is not to talk, just be quiet. This time I mentioned the first time that in the modern, maybe I'm wrong, but in the modern world, people think the opposite. Let him vent. The person's angry, so let him vent his anger, and then that will calm him down. That's the modern view. I don't know if it was proven or not, but according to what it says in here, in Reishis Chacham and Chassidus, it's not true. The proper way to deal with someone who is overly emotional is not by letting him express his emotions and scream and yell. You should hold himself in. Because why? Because the speech instigates feeling stronger. If you talk about, if you express emotional speech, that makes it stronger. Okay. So that's we're going to get to midas. He started saying, so now he brought a dogma from midas, and midas sakas and other emotions. Similarly, when he express the idea that you have in your mind, express it in words, in spoken words, that develops and it divides the analysis much more detailed, more specific. Not only that, when the person is forced to speak, to express the idea he has in his mind, he forces himself to express it in words, in spoken words, that he all of a sudden he understands better. He discovers new things. And like that's what Danny mentioned before. The reason for there's a reason. The reason why Taketibo has that ability to add to seichel, that's because the shorish of Dibo is higher. Like I said before, he's not talking here. The kadmos seichel, it's higher than the seichel. Then there's another point. I think it's two different points he's making. One is kadmos seichel. Then there's the mile of chayzer over yosha. When there's the feedback. We learn that, I think it was in this sefer. When you learn with someone, two people learn. If the other person asks questions, that makes you think deeper. So that's when two people, and say also the same person by himself. If he expresses things in speech, that forces it, that's like a chayzer that forces him to think more. So we see here, that's the reason, but that's not negated. He says it's not negated by the reasons. the fact that these koiches, the Agdola to Koich and the Koich El in Kansas is expressed to Dibur.
The Dibur is Shorshe Mikadmus Seichel.
Yeah.
I think it's, but still not clear. The Dibur Seichel?
Dibur Shorshe Mikadmus Seichel. Kansas means higher than Seichel, above Seichel.
But it's not connected to Seichel.
Why it's not connected? Why are you saying it's not connected?
It's ACS. It's a different shirish. It's not. It's. I don't know. I'm asking.
In Seichel Guf, it's from that level in Seichel, which is above Avon. It's from a higher place in Seichel. I say that's. Lepoil, remember, we learned, I mean, in order to speak, you have to, that's connected to learning. It has some relation to Seichel, but it's Kadmos, it's a higher level. That's what we learned also, that the Iran and Russian Tosfos have the same opinion. They use different words. It says, see this, why they use different words, because the words come higher than the Seichel, but it's within.
I think there are two different areas in the Dibur. One is that the power of speech. One is the seichel. One is the intellectual concepts in the Dibur. So in other words,
we're not talking about the concept. We're talking about the.
No. I'm saying what you're saying, what the person is saying is not. It's coming from based on the seichel, but the power of speech is that we are talking about right now.
Right. So you want to know why it says Kadmos has seichel? Okay, that's a different point. So in another words, it's an expression, Kadmos HaSeichel. Why you want to know why it's in the world of Seichel, why it's not a totally different world. So that's because when you think about it, even the combination of letters in this has some kind of maybe intellectual form to it. So that's why it says Kadmos HaSeichel. But it's negay, it's not. So they get to us is not the point of seichel. It's the point of kadmos. It's above the regular seichel. Because I think the Lashon kadmos seichel says in the Gemara Kodesh also. No, I'll look it up later. Koponim. So the reason why the Dibur heads to the Seichel, to the Midas and to the Seichel is because the Dibur comes from a higher place, like I said before, Yechida. But the fact that it has a direct effect on them shows that it's mechubad, it's connected to them. If it wouldn't have to be connected, it wouldn't be able to affect them. So that's what's negay here. And then he says the Hagav in Chotzeigel, which actually later in the Maimon, a few lines later, you'll talk about the total of words. Machshava Dio and Maisa. Maisa is B'chala. Maisa is a different world. But now here, in this Chotzeigel, he brings in the concept of Maisa. Shagam b'Maisa yesh Yisrael koyach na'el. No tzarich mitchalas. In the world of Maisa, just like we said, the Dibur is a mile. Shosh Kadmos HaSeichel and the same mile as in Maisa also. The Ne'oit Tchilas and B'Sefer, like it says in Notes Tchilas and B'Sefer, like it says in Sefer Yitzir, that the beginning and the end are interconnected. And for that, he brings a pasuk that we had a Maimon Samachay, all Maimon this pasuk. Tuf Tam V'Daslam Deni, which says Secha Emonti. What does it say? What does the pasuk say? Tuf Tam V'Daslam Deni, teach me the benefit of the understanding and knowledge. Key, why? Because I believed in the mitzvah. Ma kesher, what's the connection of seichel, tam v'das to mitzvah emanti? Says Chassidus, shaydei ma'aseh mitzvah poel mamish mitzvah seichel mitaisves oil b'seichel b'geluim na'anim b'seichel ma'amukim. That's the samachay we love. The tuv tam v'das, the seichel ma'amukim, a result from ma'aseh b'poel mamish. But it's not like in Dibur. In Dibur, when the person speaks, so automatically it comes, it's begillah. We feel right away the effect on the Dibur on his seichel. But the way it is in the way that Ma'aseh Mitzvah brings seichel nine, that's p'chinas nelam. Ve'einem is gal b'zeh amitis shaydei asiyah. We don't really, in other words, started as mitosis b'seichel, but it's in a way of koyach nelam. I'm not sure if he's talking about. He's talking about some ruchnis madrega. That's what he says. Einem is gal b'zeh amitis shaydei asiyah. והמיתוס זה והגילה לעוסית, וזה נצחה מצווה מצווה, כי כולם ידע יש כנסת וסנסו. So in this Chatzigel, he wants to say, we just said that the fact that Dibur has an effect on the Seichel and Midas is the reason for that is because Dibur is a Kadnos HaSeichel and Chayzer. So that proves that it's connected. We see that in Ma'aseh also. Ma'aseh is not, like he's going to say in a few lines later, that Ma'aseh is not like Dibur and Machshava. Ma'aseh is Levush Koyach Nivdol, separated. And after behind, we see that the Islam also has an effect on you. So what's the eye from the Dibur? We see that the fact that it affects you doesn't prove that it's connected. We see that Ma'aseh, which is going to say soon, is a Koyach Nivdol. And it still has an effect, a positive effect on the person's seichel. It says it's other than what we said just now, that the fact that Dibur affects the seichel and midas is a higher that it's connected. So that's the question. But the answer is that this is something that we can't experience now. That's going to be experienced only lost. Okay. Okay. We'll leave it at this. My case, in addition to what we just said, that Machshava and Dibur, what koiches, they're connected to the Nefesh. Machshava is Tommy, but Dibur also is connected. Then there's another thing. Yesh is Chabas, Machshava, Dibur, same zeh. Machshava and Dibur are connected to each other. Shneim and Aisiyas, both are expressed in words and shapes. Aisiyas Dibur ain't Aisiyas Machshava. The Aisiyas Dibur, the words that you use in speech are the same words that you think. Machshava and Bedakus, the way they're on the stage of Machshava, they're in a more refined way. But Dibur boim chnes mogish. But when you express it in speech, it's felt. But so generally speaking, Machshava and Dibur are really two parts of the same being. One is hidden, one is revealed. But Vush HaGimel is a totally different type of levush. That's asir shubchinas koyach nivdol. That's separated. Action itself on its own is something separate that is not connected directly to the nefesh. What's the raya? Sharei Gama Behema yesh b'koyach hamayis. Behema, which doesn't have seichel and midas, has mais. What koyach hamayis is? Bring a raya. Interesting. The Gemara brings, but it's not get weiter. Kamay lahatis tzoyres. The behema walks in the street. What? It hits something, and that makes tzoyres. That makes pebbles fly. So that's the Gemara in Baba Kama. Tzoyres, that the behema is walking the street and it hits something. And it flew, and it's mazik, that's the mice of the behema. So we see the behema has the ability to do things. Mice,
the effects. The behema doesn't have, not the mice of the behema, it's the effects of the mice of the behema. That's what it sounds like.
Yeah, interesting. But I still, okay, but I don't understand why is it, later he's going to talk about By Adam also there's Chazrik, but here I'm not sure why he uses Tzreis. Combine the second, he brings two the Gemara. That is Tzreis, and I said Dishe Baraglayim. Pasuk says like Sachsem Sher B'Dishe. The Behemoth walks the field, and that makes Dosh, that makes the earth, the earth capable of growing. So the dish, there's dish and tzreis. Kai gav. That's a sugilatzmo. It shows two acts that a behemoth can do. In other words, it's an act that a behemoth does that affects something outside of itself. He does. In other words, the behemoth walks also. The behemoth eats. There's other things the behemoth does. So it shows things somehow that they affect the outside. It's about Tisha B'Raglayim and Tzreis. Afal P'Shem HaKoyach HaDibur. So the behemoth cannot think, cannot speak, and it still can do things. So that's a right. The Koyach HaSiyah Be'etzev is something which is not related to Machshava and Dibur. Number two, there's another pride.
המצווה, בפועל ממש, מתייסף בשכל בגילויים נעלים, בשכלים עמוקים. What does that mean?
What?
על ידי מעשה המצווה, בפועל ממש, מתייסף בשכל בגילויים נעלים, בשכלים עמוקים. That's even more than דיבור.
I don't know if it's more than דיבור. Yeah, maybe it is more than דיבור. Yeah. So that's what I said earlier. It brings from the Maimer and the Pasuk Tuv Tam Das Nam Deini that mitzvahs and the Pasuk, it says in Torah Bereshis that the person teaches another person, or the teaching is like a speech. Also, Ma'aseh Tzedakah. So Ma'aseh Tzedakah Nasem Meichem V'Libo Zdakin Elef Pa'am Kosher. That Ma'aseh Tzedakah as a Zgula, that your mind becomes much more refined, well, you can understand Sechlim Amukim. So there's a special Zgula that Maisa has that affects the way you Seichel, it gives you Seichel more power. So that was the question. That's what I explained. So that is in the Chotze Eagle, it's a question. Oh, there he said, the line before he said, the fact that to the Dibo, we get deeper in the nefesh. Like he said, the kas, the midas, and also the seichel. So that's proof. We see in Maisa also. Maisa also, the Pasuk says, two times a dozen of the seichel manti. And Chassidus explains that a special zgula to Maisa mitzvahs b'poel, when you go out and then give tzedakah, put on tefillin, which is an act, a mitzvah, that can affect that affects also your seichel. I mean, we know the koyach ha'maisa, like we're just learning now, is a koyach nivdal. So what is the raya from the fact that Dibur affects the seichel? He wants to bring a raya, shachas v'schabos, the Maisa, we also see that it affects it. Maisa is a koyach nivdal. That's the question. And the answer to that was that the truth is, when they say, it's still behelem, and it's only going to be begilul asidlo. So it's not really that. I don't. The answer is not that clear to me, but this is what he says here in this Chotze. That Maisa also has an effect, but it's koyach ne'elam. It's not as much as it is in Dibur. Basically, what happens is we don't see direct effect. We don't see it directly. Let's say, it says in Pasuk, and Chassidus says that if you give tzedakah to a man, so that will make your mind stronger. So it's like a zgula. It's not a direct effect. Hashem Divo, it's direct. It's something we experience away from Golui. When you have to articulate something in speech, it actually makes you think deeper into the thing. It makes you understand better. And same thing with Kas. we see that when a person speaks out, automatically it makes him angrier, it makes him more emotional. So in Dibur, it's begilui. In the way that Maisa affects the nefesh, it's more behelim. When I get to Maisa mitzvah, that's going to be Ershnes Galal Osid Love. What does it say in the Lashon? Kulam Yedem. That's not something that's being experienced now. Mailers, it's not from in Maisa, it's not as much. That's a hard. Now we're already in a different discussion now.
Maybe
Now
because Master Tzedakah, because the person forces himself. In other words, it's, I mean, that's why maybe specifically saying Master Tzedakah, because the person is not something natural that for him to give. So it's going beyond. I mean, just
yeah,
assumption.
that's true. It's true what you're saying, but in there, the effect is not direct. It's not directly, let's say, go out of your way to give away money to work very hard to earn. Like Tanya says, that some money that you work very hard to earn, and it gives it to someone else. That's an expression of a strong koyach within his nefesh. So as a schar for that, the Eibishter gives him the ability to understand things better, but it's not directly related the way Dibur is. I think that's pshat. Okay. Now we're in the middle of talking about how Maisa is separate from Dibur Machshov. So first dogma was on Behema. Behema is Begach Maisa Lat Stayers, and the second dogma is a cheresh she'ene l'shemev le'medaber. Cheresh, the halachic cheresh. And halacha, the cheresh means someone who doesn't have the ability to speak and listen. So he doesn't hear and he doesn't speak. Yesh b'kerech hamayis, but the cheresh can do things. He can. And what happens? Im kol zeh nechshav eine bandas. And he has kerech hamayis, but he's not considered cheresh she'ene bandas eine bandas. Meir pata b'kol hamitzvah. There's a whole list of halacha, what the din of cheresh. So what do we see here? That the fact that he has kerech hamayis does not. It's not bandas. Bandas means he's not developed. His keiches and nefesh are not developed yet. It means that the fact that Kerech HaMaisa does not indicate that his keiches are there. So that's proof. Move on me that the Kerech HaMaisa nimshach nefesh achiyunis lo nefesh hamaskeres on the birds. Again, in this line, chiyunis hamaskeres means. Sorry. He uses the language which is really a language that we find in Rishonim, in Ramban. Just learned in Ramban, Parashat Bereshis, and that before that he had the nefesh achiyunis, and then the Eibishter gave him he said nefesh hamaskeres and daberes. In other words, we're not talking about the language of Tani, nefesh alkif, nefesh abamis, nefesh asichlis. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about within the nefesh, there's the part of chiyunis, there's the part of the nefesh that gives them life, which is called the instinct, or we can call it maybe nefesh similar to nefesh abamis. It's just the part of nefesh that just makes them alive, almost like a balchai. And nefesh hamaskeres and daberes, that's the human. The mele is then move on the fact that a cheresh can do Maisa, has the Kerech HaMaisa, that's proof that the Kerech HaMaisa comes from a different place. It's not connected to Nefesh HaMaskeres with Daber. It's not connected to Machshava and Dibur. Another point is that's point one, that Maisa is Nivdal. Another thing is Kerech HaMaisa b'chitzonis ha'avorim v'kalim b'chitz ha'nefesh ha'mamish b'dam ha'kovesh, ha'adam shebe'avorim. Now he brings in another scheme that says in Kabbalah, also not in Kabbalah, maybe in the early Sforim discusses how the body of the human being is broken into three parts. Moyach, leif, kovet, b'gematria melech. The moyach, brain, leif, kovet means the liver. Liver really represents all the every equal, all the the parts of the body which deal with the digestive system, and because what does the covet do? The covet cleanses the blood that comes from food, now that should be go back to the heart. It's all part of the digestive system. So he says here that koyach hamaisa, again, this is the way the operation of the body is explained in the earliest form, like it's found as Shvile Emuna. There's another few form that we find that we describe the way the body operates. So they break down the body into these three parts, and they say also the koyach hamaisa that related to Ivan Chitzonim, external limbs, as opposed to the internal. Internal is like everything's on the face, the mouth, the eyes, the ears, the nose. That's called the koyach pnimi, and even in the heart, that's pnimi. Mashenken meister, that's a varm chitzonim, the hands, and generally speaking, the hands and the feet. That's the koyach hamaisa. That's related to from that madring in the nefesh, which that's connected to midam kovet. That's the dam, the blood that comes from the kovet, like I said, from the lowest madriga, from the digestive system, and it goes back and forth. Speech comes from the limbs, from the lungs, which is Eva and Neshima, the volume in the body that are connected to breathing. Okay, that point is also said in the Maisa midam kovet. Maisa koyach hamaisa comes from the blood of the kovet of the river. Sheyesh parsa mafresket b'neim shezeh chatzar kovet kanayda. So he basically describes that the koyach hamaisa relates to the lowest madriga in the body guf, which is covered. There's a special parsa, which means there's a curtain that separates the covet, the liver, and all the digestive system from the heart and the lungs. It's called, if you learn the it's called chatzar kovet. I'm not sure what the modern word for that concept is, but it means that it's the lowest part of the body. Okay, so in the middle of discussing, koyach hamaisa is separate. Okay, we'll continue tomorrow.
Thank you.